My weekend, yeah, it was good, thanks. It's just there are a couple of frustrating things, and it ties into our friend Julie Bauke, who joins us now. And Julie Bauke, how do people follow the good work you do and try to make us better people in the workplace?
Well, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow us on Instagram, the Bauke Group, and it's Bauke. We're starting to put a lot of great content there, and we're just getting our TikTok channel started also.
All right,
and you can also sign up for our stuff on our website. So, all kinds of ways to connect with Julie Bauke.
All right, and when you say stuff on our website, what's your website?
TheBaukeGroup.com.
Bauke, TheBaukeGroup.com.
Correct.
All right, so over the weekend, a couple things happened that bear repeating. One actually wasn't over the weekend, but it ties into the first one. And the first one is I have a significant investment in a company that fired their that forced their general manager out last week in a petty dispute, by all accounts, extremely popular. And this person is now out, which will create morale problems, creates hiring problems, creates all of those things because a couple of geniuses on the board decided it was the way to go. And I've maintained forever, Julie, that the most dangerous group in the world is not Jane and her friends at a meditation camp in the jungle in Mexico.
Easy.
It's rich people in a room because they have all the right answers. Just ask them. So sidebar to that story, a friend of mine, his new daughter-in-law, was fired from her company, I think 3 days before the wedding.
Oh.
So, look, you can get fired anytime for any reason.
That's right.
She was not given a reason. You don't have to get a reason. But in the process of all of that, it certainly wasn't a secret that she was getting married. So, again, basic humanity might apply.
You'd think.
She certainly would probably be better off not being in that job.
Yeah.
I may name this company at some point. But it's just bad management to me, Julie. It's like bad parents. They can ruin everything.
Yeah, and when you look at the first story, so that story has gotten around to everybody associated with that company. And so everybody looks at that and says, okay, why not me? I could be next. And it creates not only fear and anxiety in the organization, but it also really damages the organization's reputation as an employer, as a vendor, as a provider. And so people go, I don't like the way they do business, and they move on and do it elsewhere. So it's the ripple effect, really, that I think organizations, for some reason, stupidly don't think about.
And you think about it, too, when you get rid of a key person, and obviously a general manager is a key person and a person that's well-liked and has delivered, if you have issues with them, why not say you've got 3 months or you've got 6 months, I need you to turn this around, and give them a period of time to do that.
You're right. It can become like a petty sort of face-off between the people like on a board or the people at executive leadership and the person, because so much of it is just ego. It's like I'm going to cross my arms and let's see who folds first, and I'm going to get my way regardless of the ripple effect. And it's just it's a face palm. And it's been going on forever, and the world is just populated with really crappy leaders. Really, in all of our sectors, unfortunately.
Well, and it goes to the other story, too, I think, because what you just said, the message it sends to the rest of the people that are still there. You fire somebody 3 days before the wedding. That's not going to exactly instill confidence in your people.
No. I mean, we always get into this discussion around the holidays. Is it better to let someone go right before the holidays so they don't overspend during the holidays? Or is it better to wait until after the holidays when then you could be accused of allowing them to overspend, as an example? This is one of those areas of leadership, HR, people management, whatever you want to call it, where there's no good solution. There's no good way to do it, but there are 1,000 really, really crappy ways.
So diving off of what Steve said, now you don't have a job. You get fired. You don't know it. You have to look for a new job. A lot of times we say networking is the best way to find a job because it's, this person knows this person. I love that. I'm all about networking. However, some people don't have a huge network. So if you go to a LinkedIn, which should be the, greatest place ever to find a job, or any of these other job sites, are these jobs real? Because I have only seen on LinkedIn, you see all these job postings and they look like they're just there forever and ever and ever. Do they actually exist? And does anybody ever get a job from a job posting?
They do, but let me back up for 1 second. So when you lose your job, especially if it was sudden, surprising, you're going to have all kinds of conflicted, really bad feelings about it. You have to take a short period of time at least to take a breath, process those feelings, figure out, and say to yourself, okay, like in this general manager's case, yes, it's unfair. It's wildly unfair. But the other side of that is these people have shown you who they are. And do you really want to be a part of an organization like that? So you need to kind of go through, really it is a grief process before you start figuring out what you want to do next. And kind of poking around on LinkedIn and job boards is actually a great way to get a feel for what's going on in the market, who's hiring, what's in demand, et cetera. So this whole thing came out about ghost jobs. Of course, we have to have a snappy, phrase for everything now: quiet quitting, quiet firing, ghost jobs. But none of the things, including ghost jobs, is new. So, back when we didn't have all this real-time kind of job posting and job applying, human resources departments, organizations would post jobs for a couple of reasons that really, let's just say, weren't real or weren't still open. Laziness and a desire to fill the coffers with potentially great people. So the first one, I put a job out there, I fill it. I forget I have it out there. I have that posting out there, I don't take it down. And it's just like, I think we forgot to take that one off of Indeed. Or we forgot to take that one off our website, and we're just going to see how this new person does before we take that job down.
Wow.
So then you've got all these people applying who are hopeful and become discouraged when they don't get a peep of a response.
Right.
So that just feeds into the nobody wants me narrative.
So is the ghost job part of this? Is that something that companies recognize as an issue? And whose job is it to not do that?
I don't think they recognize it as an issue that's a problem. And I'll tell you why I say this. There are a myriad of complaints from job seekers that are very valid about organizations. And it's things like they don't get back to me after I apply. Or even worse, I get it. Sometimes companies get overwhelmed, but you need to have an automatic response system set up. But worse is, I still, to this day, hear stories from clients and others about people going through a very lengthy interview process with a company to then be ghosted and never told, go away,
Right.
never told, we pick somebody else. So bad behavior on the part of the hiring authorities is nothing new, and unfortunately, it still continues.
I think Jane just opened up a really interesting question, though. If you can hang with us for a second, Julie.
Yeah, sure.
I want to go through that LinkedIn thing and some basic questions about the way you apply for jobs now and the way jobs are gotten. And this is stuff you live with every day. And because a lot of people have to understand there are ways to beat the algorithm and at least move down the road and not be eliminated because you have the wrong word in your resume. Or is that all a myth? Oh, good tease.
Great tease.
Stand by. More with Julie Bauke in just a second. First, my friend Tom Kelly, he was listening this morning to you talking about your trip. I think it's a good summation. Mm-hmm. Jane, by the way, is just back from the jungle outside of Puerto Vallarta where jaguars roamed outside her room.
Right.
She didn't have electricity for a week.
Spiders the size of your hands.
And he said, so just to recap, a guy from Wisconsin commits a bunch of women to go to the jungles of Mexico.
That's right.
Takes away communications. Tells them they ought to have sex once a day. And when one of the women tries to escape, he sets a dog on her to bite her.
That's a good recap.
Says, shouldn't Denzel Washington show up and rescue them? Right.
Thank you.
Very funny.
There you go.
Tom Kelly.
I'll let you put it that way, Tom.
Julie Bauke back with us. The Bauke Group. You can start on LinkedIn, but see her all over social media and go to the website as well. All right, so back to the Jane premise of LinkedIn. I think it's an important thing. It goes to Indeed as well. Julie, when you go out on a date and afterwards you think, how long before I call? How long before I text? How long after you apply should you check and see if you're still in the mix, or should you never do that?
Because it depends. If you see a job posted somewhere, you can expect that the employer's getting potentially hundreds of responses, especially if it's a pretty appealing job. So let's say 300. So you're one of 300, and you are at the top of the funnel at this point. And so chances are you're trying to call the company and saying things like, "Did you get my application?" is not going to bear much fruit because, frankly, they don't have time to answer that question for 300 people. But as you move down the funnel and you become, if you then maybe get they ask you to fill out an application or participate in a screening interview. In other words, the 300 starts to go down, and you stay in the mix. So the further down you get in the mix, in other words, the smaller group you're still a part of who's still in running for the position, there is a certain level of expectation that the company be communicating with you about your status. I mean, it's just the right thing to do. You're wasting someone's time if you're not, from a company perspective. So
and again, that's a key to the place you might not want to work at, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I had a client one time who interviewed for a chief financial officer job. She spent days preparing. And they never responded. She spent a day interviewing with them, a whole day, and they never ever got back to her.
That's BS.
And so she's like, "Well, I guess I didn't get the job." But what kind of a taste do you think that left in her mouth? And everyone else who heard her story about what that place is like to work for.
Right. It's a signal you send. One more, and then I got to get Jane back in here. Jane, hold on one sec.
Quick
I want to
follow up on that one.
Well, I want to follow up. Then you follow up?
I'll follow up on your follow-up?
Because if I don't follow up right now, my ADD
You're going to forget
will kick in.
Okay, I'll write mine down then.
All right, so here's my follow-up. The algorithm question. Here's how we used to get jobs. You'd apply for a job. Your resume would be pulled. You'd look interesting enough. You'd get an interview. And then the interview, you'd proceed to get the job or not get the job. Now the algorithm can kick people out based on things that they might not know they're putting in that are damaging. Is there any way to beat all that?
You have to understand. So one of the things that I would do is get very clear what kind of job you're looking for. And we could go for days on that one. But once you're clear what you're looking for, go out and read the job descriptions. Who is looking for someone? What are the phrases, the words and phrases that are being used these days, especially if you haven't been in the job market for a while? And you want to make sure that you're using the language that employers are using when they say who they're looking for. So the goal is to be findable, whether it's by a person or an algorithm. If you're using out-of-date language or your resume is very generic or you haven't done a good job in explaining what your experience is, then you won't be found. You won't be identified as the person who's a fit for the job by either humans or the algorithm. The algorithm is simply a substitute for human eyes kind of scanning the resume to see if you have the experience they're looking for. So don't get cute and try to make yourself pop up for every job out there. Make sure your resume and your LinkedIn profile is a true reflection of what you've done, what your best capabilities are, and that you're using the language that's being used these days. And then from a networking perspective, connect with people using that same language. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'm looking for.
So many questions. So just a follow-up on that, when you're not getting cued, don't you think it's just smart to use their descriptor words of what the job is about?
Sure.
Put that, because then that's going to pop up because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, as long as you really are and have done those things.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. You're talking about honesty.
Yeah. It's 2024.
So outdated. You said, what are the kids saying? They're not being honest.
But when you're following up, and this is the follow-up to the follow-up to the follow-up, can we call the person? What if you want a job so bad you just find their phone number and you call them? If you're producing yourself, you're going to go find that phone number and you're going to call them. Or is that's going to kick you out because it's too much?
Yeah. Okay, so once you have, all right, so picture the funnel again, 300 down to, let's say, 3. Okay, you're in the running, there's 3 of you left. And you are, this is one of the tricks we tell, not really tricks, one of the things we tell our clients to do. Let's say you've been interviewed. Maybe it's down to 8 of you, 8 or less, let's say. And you have spent some time preparing for an interview and being interviewed. It is, and they say, this is Thursday, let's say, and they say, we'll get back to you sometime next week about next steps. Okay. So now it's next week. So the question then is, when am I bugging them? When am I just being appropriate in my follow-up? Here's what I would say. Here's what I would tell somebody using this example. So it's Thursday, next Thursday. They say, we'll get back to you next week. End of the day Thursday or sometime on Thursday, you follow up and you say, hi, so-and-so. Just wanted to reiterate again my thanks for our conversation next week. And I'm wondering at this point, is there anything else you need from me to move the process forward?
Well, that's a great follow-up. But the other question that I hear all the time, Julie Bauke, is people go, well, look, I didn't finish college, but I have been, sought after and awarded because I've achieved at a high level and I'm successful in all these things. A lot of people have said you just get kicked out by most algorithms because the job posting says 4-year degree plus however much experience. And if you don't get those, you're not even going to get considered. Is that true?
The good news is that is changing. And we are entering the don't have a 4-year degree, who cares, days. And this is a great thing. We're not there yet, but several companies, including IBM, have come out and said, you know what? We're going to relook at every job we hire for. And instead of just saying, well, of course a 4-year degree is required, we're going to really ask ourselves, is it? And we might say preferred but not required. So there is some real loosening around what are those requirements. There's several reasons for that. But the good news is for people who have great experience but no college degree or all kinds of aptitude but no college degree, organizations, not all of them, but there's a lot that are really getting there. They're going to say, well, wait a minute, let's not make that be a door closer. Let's at least have a conversation, or if we like what we see in the person's background, let's really get them in the conversation early, because we've all known people who have really impressive degrees
right,
but can't find their way out of a paper bag, and vice versa.
Last thing to bring it full circle to the Ghost Jobs LinkedIn discussion where we started with all this. Texter writes, applied directly on a company's website. LinkedIn is for referrals and networking. Over the past 4 months, I've learned this the hard way. Job posting on LinkedIn aren't accurate or reliable, which is what you've discussed. Agree or disagree with that general thought?
Yeah, so that gets to the other. Sometimes they are real, but what they're doing is really collecting resumes. So here's what I would do. If you see a job on LinkedIn posted, go to the company's website and see if it's also there. See if you can find it in any other sources. But yes, LinkedIn is an incredible networking tool to find out who works there, who knows somebody who works there. You can kind of get the skinny on, is it a good place to work or not? But start to building relationships. Even with all this technology, guys, 2/3 or more people still find their jobs through other human beings. And so let's not get over
network.
Yeah, there's the key. And next time you're on, we should probably just do a LinkedIn thing and talk about how best to use LinkedIn. I know you do it every day. I don't want you giving away the business, but I think it's important.
Oh, yeah.
The Bauke Group, we pay her heavily for each of these appearances, and I know she appreciates it.
I'm still looking for my checks.
Oh, check the mail. The Bauke Group, Bauke, thebaukegroup.com. Google Julie Bauke, the Bauke Group. Get all the social media sites, follow her there as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Take care.